Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful for You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In a thick, sprawling wave of coastal fog rolling in from the Pacific and swallowing Malibu in a suffocating gray sheet, the Bold and the Beautiful unfolds one of its most haunting, breathless nights as Luna Nozawa disappears into the white void while danger stalks her from every direction. Beginning the moment Deputy Chief Bradley Baker slams a firm hand across Will Spencer's chest to keep the young man from bolting after her, barking that it's far too dangerous to run blindly into a fog that's thick enough to hide cliffs, loose rocks, and a fugitive spiraling between heartbreak and panic, thus ordering Will to stay inside the beach house and wait for Electra Forrester and Ivy Forrester, who burst through the door in a rush of wind and dread. Electra's relief at seeing Will in one piece quickly transforms into a desperate demand for answers, and Will's voice trembles as he explains what happened, that Luna cornered him emotionally, that she pleaded for love he didn't have to give, that she confessed she'd lost the baby, that she was unraveling before his eyes and then ran out into the night as though something inside her had snapped loose, and the weight of those words makes Ivy go pale while Electra wraps her arms around Will protectively, insisting he cannot go after Luna because she is too unpredictable, too frantic, too emotionally volatile to guarantee anyone's safety, a claim Baker silently agrees with as he steps outside to supervise patrol units already combing the shoreline for any sign of Luna's silhouette cutting through the fog. Meanwhile, across town at Il Giardino, Lee Finnegan, Poppy Nozawa, and Sheila Sharp burst out of the restaurant doors the instant they hear Luna has fled into the night after telling Will she miscarried. The three women, each with their own complicated bond to Luna, racing toward the beach house with their hearts pounding, Poppy's raw guilt spilling from her in jagged breaths as she whispers that she warned Luna, she pushed Luna, she failed Luna, while Lee's face is a mask of iron resolve, a physician's calm layered over a grandmother's terror, and Sheila's expression is written with deep, surprisingly sincere worry as she grips a flashlight tightly and promises they will find the girl before something catastrophic happens. The moment they arrive, Lee immediately takes charge, ordering Poppy and Sheila to spread out while constantly calling Luna's name, her voice echoing out into a night that seems determined to swallow every human sound, a night so quiet that even the ocean sounds far away, muffled behind walls of fog that make the world feel suspended and unreal. And as Lee picks her way through the rocky path along the dunes, she begins speaking not just loudly but emotionally, pleading into the fog itself as if Luna might hear her spirit to spirit even if she no longer stands on stable ground, calling out that whatever darkness has overtaken her granddaughter can still be overcome, that Luna must surrender, must stop running, must let someone help her before she slips beyond the reach of anyone who loves her. And the more Lee speaks, the more the truth comes pouring out, her regrets about not being softer with Luna as a child, her anger at Poppy's failures, her fears about Finn being pulled into another cycle of trauma, her dread that Luna, lost and terrified, might not survive the night. And these raw confessions merge with the fog, drifting outward like a desperate beacon that someone somewhere hopes Luna will follow, but Luna, stumbling blindly through the thickening haze, is in no state to follow anything, not reason, not memory, not the soft pulse of family love calling her name, because all she can hear is the pounding of her own heart and the echo of Will Spencer's rejection replaying like a broken tape, his words, "I will never love you," driving her deeper into emotional collapse as she tries to navigate a coastline she can barely see, tears blurring the limited visibility even further and making every step treacherous. She claws her way through low brush, scraping her palms and knees, gasping between sobs about the baby she lost, the future falling apart, the humiliation, the fear of police closing in, the crushing sense that she is already beyond saving, and she whispers into the fog that maybe Poppy was right, maybe she is dead too. Her mother, maybe she really doesn't deserve to be alive at all after the mistakes she's made, a line that chills the air itself because the fog has been quietly thickening into something dangerous enough to fully distort sound and depth perception, and with each passing second Luna becomes more disoriented, more confused, more certain she's walking in circles even though her feet keep carrying her toward the unstable, rocky outcrop overlooking the water, a section locals know is slippery when dry and lethal when the air is this wet. And while Luna inches toward disaster, back on the beach Lee continues her frantic search, shouting that running will only make things worse, that the police will show mercy if Luna surrenders willingly, begging her granddaughter to come out before she hurts herself, but Lee can feel the truth pressing down on her. The show has been dropping fatal clues for weeks, from Poppy declaring Luna dead to her with a coldness that seemed like foreshadowing, to Luna muttering in previous episodes that she might as well be dead after losing Will, losing dignity, losing the baby, losing every shred of hope she once carried with such bright optimism. And Lee knows from decades of medical experience that people in Luna's fragile psychological state can become impulsive, self-destructive, unaware of danger and unmoored from reality, which sends her speeding her pace, ignoring the jagged rocks cutting into her ankles as she pushes forward. Meanwhile, Sheila, scouring the coastline with a fierce determination that surprises even herself, whispers prayers under her breath, asking whatever higher power might be listening to protect this girl before the night turns tragic. And Poppy, shaking uncontrollably as she stumbles through brush, keeps imagining her daughter lying broken at the bottom of some cliff, her guilt becoming its own suffocating fog that makes her cry out Luna's name with a grief that echoes for miles. Inside the beach house, Will sits down heavily, head in his hands, finally processing the enormity of what Luna confessed, the pregnancy, the miscarriage, the lies, the emotional manipulation, and while Electra squeezes his shoulder and tries to calm him, Will admits through a strained whisper that despite everything, despite the violation, despite the fear, he doesn't want Luna to die, he doesn't want her lost forever. He doesn't want to be the last voice she heard before disappearing into the night, and Ivy watches silently, aware that the situation is devouring every person connected to it in a different way. Outside, the fog thickens again, an almost supernatural curtain that reduces visibility to nearly nothing, and Luna, now numb with cold and exhaustion, missteps on a patch of slick earth at the cliff edge, her ankles twisting at an angle that sends her sprawling forward, sliding dangerously close to the ledge as she scrambles for grip, her fingers clawing at mud and roots that threaten to give way as the ocean roars somewhere far below. And for a terrifying moment it looks like the prophecy is coming true, Luna slipping into the darkness, swallowed by the same fog that once represented secrecy but now feels like death's hand creeping over Malibu. But then she drags herself back just enough to avoid the fall, collapsing onto her elbows and sobbing uncontrollably, whispering that she doesn't want to die, that she just wants everything to stop hurting, that she wants someone to save her from herself. At that exact moment, Lee's flashlight beam flickers across the distant shape of a figure hunched near the cliff, and she gasps, sprinting toward Luna with a speed she didn't know she still possessed, calling her granddaughter's name over and over, the desperation in her voice cutting through the fog just enough to make Luna lift her head. But Luna doesn't run, she doesn't answer, she simply stares at Lee with hollow, haunted eyes, too emotionally drained to fight, too numb to decide whether she should surrender or simply let the earth take her. And Lee slowly approaches, hands raised in a gesture of peace, voice trembling as she begs Luna to step away from the ledge, to let her help, to let someone save her before she's swallowed by consequences that can never be undone. But the moment is fragile, tense, and balanced on the edge of fate because the earth shifts beneath Luna slightly, a rock loosening under her weight, prompting Lee to lunge forward instinctively and grab Luna's arm, and as she pulls her granddaughter backward into her embrace, both women cry, both women shake, both women realize how close they came to tragedy. Yet even as Lee holds her, even as Luna leans weakly against her chest, Baker's flashlight beams begin cutting through the fog from behind, police voices calling out, and Luna stiffens, terrified, torn between surrendering and fleeing again, and Lee whispers urgently that running will end badly, that the fog, the cliffs, the panic, it's all too dangerous, that she must choose life now before the night chooses death for her. Whether Luna listens, whether she surrenders or bolts again, whether someone else lurking unseen in the fog alters the outcome, remains the cliffhanger as the episode ends with an ominous sense that fate is circling, waiting, and that something fatal may still be coming for Luna Nozawa before this night is truly done. As the fog coils even tighter around the cliffside like a living thing determined to erase every human outline from the world, Luna Nozawa remains trapped in that agonizing limbo between surrender and flight, trembling violently in Lee Finnegan's arms while Deputy Chief Bradley Baker's flashlight beam slices through the murk like a warning shot of inevitability, his steady voice calling out that officers are approaching and that Luna must keep her hands visible. And even though Lee whispers that this is her chance to stop the spiral, to take her fate back before something irreversible happens, Luna's breath comes in quick, uneven bursts that betray the battle warring inside her, fear of arrest, fear of judgment, fear of losing the last shreds of her identity, but also fear of herself, fear of how close she came to stepping off the cliff and letting the ocean swallow her mistakes forever, which makes her jerk backward instinctively, nearly slipping again as Lee tightens her grip and pleads, "Don't run, sweetheart, please don't run, not now, not when you're this fragile." But Luna's wide, tear-swollen eyes dart between Lee's desperate face and the blurry silhouettes of police approaching through the fog, their forms distorted enough to look like specters of consequence chasing her through the night. Poppy Nozawa and Sheila Sharp appear moments later, stumbling into view with flashlights trembling in their hands, both women calling Luna's name with completely different flavors of desperation, Poppy's sharp and cracking with guilt, Sheila's low and surprisingly maternal, and the collision of their voices overwhelms Luna's already overloaded senses, pushing her closer to panic as the fog swirls at her feet like a rising tide, and Lee tries to shield Luna from the overwhelming Poppy edges closer. Tears cutting down her cheeks like rain, whispering that she knows she failed Luna, that she knows she pushed too hard, judged too harshly, let fear outweigh compassion, and that she cannot bear the thought of losing her daughter again, not to the law, not to the fog, not to death. But out of nowhere Luna's voice cracks through the night, raw and aching as she chokes out, "You already lost me," a sentence that hits Poppy so hard her legs nearly buckle. But before she can respond, a sudden shift in the wind sends a chilling gust across the cliff, whipping Luna's hair and jacket backward, and she instinctively steps away from everyone, closer to the unstable edge, her boots skidding on loose gravel as the cliff gives a quiet but ominous groan beneath her weight. Sheila shrieks at her to stop. Baker orders everyone to freeze, and Lee lunges again, grabbing Luna's arm just as a slab of rock breaks away and plummets into the darkness below, triggering a chain reaction of crumbling earth that sends vibrations up through the ground strong enough to make everyone stumble, and Luna, suddenly realizing how death is quite literally beneath her feet, finally collapses into Lee's arms again, sobbing uncontrollably as Lee drags her backward onto more stable ground. But the danger doesn't end there, because at that moment, someone unseen, someone who had been following quietly through the fog, someone whose motivations aren't yet clear, steps on a brittle branch behind the group, the sharp snap echoing like a gunshot and making Baker whirl around with his hand on his holster as he shouts into the darkness for the figure to identify themselves. But instead of answering, the shadow moves swiftly between two boulders, disappearing deeper into the fog and leaving behind only the faintest sound of heavy breathing, which sends a ripple of dread through everyone, including Sheila, who mutters that whoever that was didn't want to be seen, and while officers spread out to investigate the mystery figure, Luna continues trembling violently, whispering that she can feel something awful coming, that the night isn't done with her yet, that danger is closing in from every direction, and Lee, determined to get Luna to safety before the unseen threat reappears, lifts Luna's chin and tells her she must choose right now, come with her, surrender peacefully, live to face tomorrow, or risk being consumed by a night that seems hell-bent on claiming a victim. Luna hesitates, torn, exhausted, shivering so hard her teeth chatter, and she finally manages to whisper a broken okay, just as Baker approaches with cuffs at the ready, but before he reaches them, the fog erupts with the sound of frantic footsteps pounding against wet sand, a figure sprinting toward the cliff from the opposite direction, and the group turns as the silhouette bursts into view, wild-eyed, staggering, shouting Luna's name with hysterical urgency before tripping over a fallen branch and tumbling toward the cliff's edge in a horrifying blur. And Luna's scream pierces the fog as this unknown person's body skids across the slippery ground, threatening to plunge over the side unless someone moves fast enough to stop yet another impending tragedy. The sound of boots pounding against concrete echoed like thunder through the underground corridors as Luna clutched RJ's arm for balance, her legs still weak from weeks, maybe longer, of unconscious recovery, and as the red emergency lights strobed above them in nauseating pulses, she could hardly tell where one hallway ended and another began. It was like being trapped inside a maze built for the sole purpose of disorienting anyone who dared to try to flee. Dr. Hall ran ahead, swiping a keycard at every sealed door they encountered, each one hissing open with a metallic groan that made Luna cringe because it felt like an announcement. "We are here, we are running, follow us." "This way," the doctor barked, her normally calm voice now cracking under the strain, and for the first time, Luna saw genuine fear in her eyes, fear not just for Luna's safety, but fear of whoever had discovered their location. RJ held on to Luna tightly, his breath ragged, his expression hardened into something fierce, protective, and far more desperate than she'd ever seen on him. This wasn't the easygoing boy she first met at Forrester. This was someone willing to fight the world to keep her alive. Behind them, the footsteps grew louder, multiple people, not just one or two, the kind of coordinated rhythm that suggested training, uniforms, and intent. "Who are they?" Luna whispered, stumbling over her own feet as RJ practically lifted her to keep her moving. "Not police," Dr. Hall said sharply. "Not anyone official. Whoever orchestrated your death has their own people." Luna felt a cold shock ripple through her. If whoever did this had the resources to stage her death, forge documents, manipulate a coroner, and plant security at her funeral, then of course they'd have hired muscle too. "They're getting closer," RJ shouted. "We're not going to outrun them like this." "Luna needs help, she can't, I can," Luna rasped, angry at her own weakness, furious that her body was slowing them down at the worst possible moment. But before she could say more, a gunshot cracked through the corridor, ricocheting off metal piping overhead and raining dust down on them. Luna screamed as RJ threw himself in front of her, shielding her with his body. "Move!" Dr. Hall yelled, grabbing Luna's arm and pulling her into a sharp left corridor while RJ followed, eyes wild. Another shot rang out, closer this time, followed by the heavy slam of boots sprinting after them. Luna's heart hammered so violently she thought she might faint, but adrenaline, thick, survival-driven adrenaline, forced her to keep going even as her lungs burned and her vision blurred. The three of them burst through another door, and Dr. Hall immediately started barricading it with a metal cart. "This won't hold long," she warned, breathing hard. "We need to get topside." Luna leaned against the cold wall, chest heaving, trying to piece together the cascading terror. "Why now?" she gasped. "How did they even find this place?" Dr. Hall paused, eyes darkening. "Someone tipped them off." "Betrayal." The word hit Luna like a slap. "Who?" "We don't have time to figure that out," the doctor snapped. "But someone involved in your recovery didn't want you to wake up." Luna's mind raced. Who would know she survived? Who would have access to this hidden facility? Who would care enough to silence her? One name haunted her thoughts like a ghost she didn't want to acknowledge, Poppy, but she pushed it down, refusing to believe her own mother could be involved in something this deadly. They pushed deeper into the maze of hallways until finally, Dr. Hall skid to a stop before a reinforced hatch. "This is it," she said. "Stairs lead to a maintenance exit behind the old hydro plant." She swiped her card, entered a code, then yanked the door open, but just as Luna stepped toward the stairs, a chilling voice echoed from behind them, "Going somewhere?" Luna froze. RJ stiffened. Dr. Hall's face drained of all color. And into the corridor stepped a figure Luna recognized instantly, because it was someone who should not have known she was alive. Electra. Dressed in all black, a gun held confidently in her hand, her expression colder than Luna had ever seen, Electra took one step forward, then another, blocking their escape path like a predator savoring the moment before the kill. "Electra?" Luna whispered, disbelief flooding her voice. "What are you doing here? How did you find you?" Electra smiled, a chilling, serpentine smile. "Luna, sweet Luna, you were never supposed to wake up." RJ moved instantly, stepping in front of Luna with both arms outstretched. "Stay back," he warned, voice trembling with fury. "I swear to God, Electra, if you touch her..." "Oh, calm down, RJ," Electra sighed, lowering the gun slightly but keeping her finger on the trigger. "I'm not here for you. You're just collateral damage." Luna felt her legs begin to shake, not from weakness now, but from the crushing weight of betrayal. "Why?" she whispered. "Electra, what did I ever do to you?" "You existed," Electra hissed. "You existed, and suddenly everyone at Forrester was obsessed with you. Your designs. Your talent. Your perfect little love story. Your perfect new daddy billionaire. Meanwhile someone who's been grinding for years, was overlooked." Her voice cracked, anger and jealousy intertwining like barbed wire. You were a threat. And threats need to be removed. RJ lunged forward, but Electra raised the gun again, forcing him to freeze. Don't, she warned. I won't hesitate. Dr. Hall subtly reached for Luna's arm, trying to angle her toward the stairwell, but Electra spotted the movement instantly. Aha, she said, voice icy. Nobody is leaving. And then, before anyone could react, another voice cut through the air, put the gun down. Everyone turned. Another figure stepped out from behind the pipes, a man in a dark hoodie, face partially shadowed. Luna's breath caught in her throat. She recognized his silhouette. It was the person who had been watching her. Protecting her. The one who left the warning note. And when he stepped fully into the light, Luna felt her knees nearly give out. It was Will Spencer. Bill's youngest son. The quiet one. The one no one ever suspected. The one who had been following her that night, trying to warn her, trying to pull her from the car. Electra's eyes widened. You, she spat. I should have finished you off when I had the chance. You should have made sure Luna was gone, Will said, voice chillingly steady for someone so young. Because now I know everything. He stepped closer, never breaking eye contact with Electra. I saw you force her off the road. I saw you try to drag her back into the car to plant evidence. I saw everything. Electra snarled, aiming the gun straight at his chest. Then you leave me no choice. And everything happened at once. Dr. Hall shoved Luna toward the stairwell, RJ lunged, Will moved, Electra fired, but the bullet never reached its target. The facility erupted into chaos as a deafening crash shook the ceiling, another explosion from the upper levels where the attackers had breached the building, and in the confusion, the light sputtered, plunging the corridor into near darkness. Run! Will shouted, grabbing Luna's hand with one arm and yanking RJ with the other as they dove into the STA.